Are we on?
We're live. Now we're live.
Go ahead, play Masquerade for me.
I have it on. I don't know if you can hear it. Every face a different shade. The mask behind you. Yeah, so today we're talking Phantom of the Opera.
Yeah.
Which I can turn this off.
Oh, no, it's beautiful.
I wonder, can I share my screen?
I don't know. You'll have to figure that one out. You can play with it. But let's talk about why we're both so amped. Because we're both just so amped to be talking about Phantom of the Opera. So yes. First of all,
and we're for different reasons, which is fun.
Well, first of all, you and I both love Broadway.
Yes.
I mean, it's so fun. And, you know, I had the benefit of seeing this not only in Cincinnati, but also going to New York and watching it.
Yeah.
And for me, Phantom seems to touch me more than just about everything. And it's one of my top 3 favorites.
Really?
So,
I don't think I knew that.
Oh, yeah. I love Phantom. I get so excited about Phantom. And when they came out in the movie form, just absolutely loved it too.
Yep.
But at the same time, and this is, I think, what's been so fun about you and I on Untapped's journey, is when we go in and we look at the Untapped process for personal transformation.
Mm-hmm.
So often we can go look at something like Phantom through a completely new lens.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm so excited about.
Cool. Talk about it. Because I know when you and I first started talking about it, and I said, hey, this is a dad and daughter story. You're like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
I was like, no, not Phantom. Really. He's a mean guy. Nobody wants. Yeah. But
so yeah, I've come at it so I saw Phantom probably for the first time when I was like early teens. And on like a traveling Broadway in Indianapolis, and like Phantom is like up in the stage, like high up, like rigged and crazy. And I just like had nightmares for like a week. So it's always been the like scary musical. And I always loved the music. It's a long play. I think that's one for me. It's like almost 3 hours, I think, when you see it live. But it's always the like beautiful opera one. But I never had thought of the storyline besides just like this guy really likes the creepy guy likes the girl and he wants her. And that's all that I thought of it. And then you brought this up last week or maybe a couple weeks ago. You're like, we should do Phantom. And I'm like, how is this going to be Untapped? Like, I enjoy creativity and trying to think outside the box, but John, this is weird. I love it, but it's weird. And then you started talking and I'm like, oh my God. Like I have chills again, just thinking, just coming at it from a whole different perspective, which is just a whole nother like Untapped thing where you switch your mindset and it completely changes the meaning of the movie. Yeah. And same with life, it can do that. And so I'm so excited for everyone to hear how you have changed Phantom of the Opera for me forever. And it's now probably in my top 3.
Well, let's talk about the process that you went through. So you watched it the first time, and I think like most people, you were focused on the music.
Oh,
because the music is so beautiful.
Yeah.
And then
dancing along with it.
Yeah, well, it's so beautiful, and I just love it. But secondly, I sent you a link.
Yeah, which we should
an article
share that,
and we'll put that in the meeting notes. But Allie, it was interesting. In my mind, I had already mapped to this idea that it was a struggle between a daughter who loved her father dearly, manifested through her love of music, and this new love that she found in Raoul.
Yep.
And the struggle that goes on often when we enter into new relationships where we love people. And you saw the struggle as she's trying to deal with her father and her father's expectations, the family culture, the family values.
Yep.
You know, this gift of music that she has, this passion for music, and also trying to bring Raoul into what we'll affectionately call her 3-year future focus, because she really wants and loves this guy so dearly.
Yep.
But what we find, and we probably don't admit it very easily, but this act of falling in love and trying to navigate a career and trying to navigate family, which we grew up
and
with.
in a way, like baggage almost too.
Yeah, because some of the family values and culture that we grow up with fit perfectly.
Yeah.
Fit well with where we're gifted in our career choices and our passion for life.
Exactly.
And also will embrace, parts of the new relationships that we create.
Yep.
And as we find somebody that we love.
Yep.
But there's other parts where it doesn't fit.
No.
And there's a struggle that needs to go on.
Yeah.
And so often in that struggle, we really learn about ourselves in such a deep and interesting way. And the reason this is so important for Untapped is often when we try to navigate and get people's 3-year future focus to come to life, they have to negotiate between what they personally desire, their family history, these gifts that they have, and the people in their lives that they love.
Yeah.
And it's emotional. And what we find is when we can tap into that emotion and get that to basically motivate us, to go do the things that we need to do to change our lives and make them better.
Yep.
It's a beautiful combination, but there's some amount of inherent pain that comes with it.
Yeah.
So
agreed.
So what I'd like to do is, and we have to be careful because we don't want to go way over a half hour today.
I know. It's a movie.
Yeah, but I think we have to do, set the context just a little bit. So it's Paris, 1919.
Yep.
We're just coming out of World War I and the occupation by Germany.
Yep.
And this whole area is bombed out and destroyed. And they're basically auctioning off items from the theater house.
Yes. Yep.
And so an old man comes in to attend the auction.
Yep.
And he starts to bid on, the monkey.
The monkey.
The little, yeah, that's exactly right. And he's got a competitive bidder, and he knows who it is.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. And they both look knowingly at each other in an appreciative way.
Yeah.
But they're both bidding on the monkey.
Yep.
And then the next
and they both know why they're bidding on the monkey.
Yeah.
They both have this understanding of, I know why you want it and I know why I want it type thing. So, yeah.
That's exactly right. And then all of a sudden, Allie, you watch the light beam in to this theater and it goes back in time.
Yep. Yeah. Well, that's when they're bidding on the chandelier.
Yeah.
And they light up the chandelier.
Yep. And so what's so important about that is often in an Untapped journey, we talk about the 4 steps in change, which is unconscious incompetence.
Yep.
Conscious incompetence. And then finally you move on to a point where you have conscious competence and unconscious competence. But this thing that Untapped does so well, what we think we do so well, is to get people to go from step 1 into step 2.
Yep.
Which is to go from unconscious incompetence, which is my life can be so much better than it is, but we have to step somebody into conscious incompetence where they realize where it could be better. So there's an illumination stage.
Yeah.
And so when you think of Phantom and the house lights descending and illuminating, it's so interesting because they pan to different statues that were in the theater. But it's interesting because it's a woman statue, right?
Yeah.
And Allie, it's cobwebbed until the light hits it.
Exactly.
And dark. But the woman is in bondage. When you see she's got shackles on her and she's blindfolded.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I didn't see the symbolism.
Yeah. And so then
this part.
yeah, and then as they cast through it, you begin to see that the light removes the shackles and removes the blindfolds and the cobwebs, but it's a signal that a transformation is taking place.
Wow, I don't. Yeah, that's good symbolism, John. Great
Well,
catch.
and Ali, so often in our process, and we know this, it takes 1 or 2 years when we sit down with people and we go through these gift assessments
Yeah.
for them to fully understand
Mm-hmm.
how critically important it is that they value and understand their own gifts. So in this
Exactly.
particular case, as we go in, this girl is, an understudy. She
Mm-hmm.
is not in her role yet.
Yeah.
And the ultimate irony is there's a prima mana, what do they call her?
Madonna.
Prima, that is
Prima
exactly right.
donna.
Yeah, prima, and so she's very narcissistic,
Yes.
and she, just way over the top, and at the same time just takes all the oxygen out of the room because she wants everybody to adore her.
Well, and it's funny you said takes. She's a taker.
Bingo. Yeah, she does not, she wants everything to be about her, and at the same time, when you look at her, she's not that way at all.
Yeah.
She is humble, she is grateful, she loves the music passionately, and the
Mm-hmm.
music is what she thrives in. She's not doing the music to get the public's admiration.
Yeah.
Okay?
Exactly. Yeah.
And so what we find is there's this beautiful bond between her and her father is deceased, but he was a famous violinist.
Yep.
And she has these incredible memories of her father, her love of her father, and the music.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And so she ultimately steps in,
Yep.
right?
Yeah, she's given the opportunity to step in.
Yeah.
To take the lead and crushes it.
She does. She crushes it. But what's very interesting is there's a change of ownership and leadership of the theater during that period of time.
Yeah.
And Raoul shows up. So take a minute to talk about who Raoul is.
So Raoul is a childhood friend that she knew growing up, I believe, like in Sweden, right? Is where she was based before her father passed. And they were just childhood sweethearts and
spent summers together.
And spent summers together and hadn't seen each other since probably her dad's passing, which would have been 10 years, maybe more. And so he's now come into his role of, I don't know if he's like a lord or what necessarily. He is a high status level. And his family has just helped fund the theater with its new plays. And so he is there to watch and kind of understand the business of it.
That's exactly right.
Mm-hmm.
So
she notices him first, and then he doesn't see her until she's taken the lead and is singing.
Yeah. Yeah. And so he quickly falls in love with her.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the battleground gets set at that point in time.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Because the Phantom, which we really believe is her father. And her love of music doesn't want Raoul in the picture.
Mm-mm.
Right? He's a competing interest, with the way that she was brought up and what is being demanded of her as a commitment to her career and her love of music.
Exactly.
And so we go into the struggle mode, very quickly.
Yeah.
And at the same time, we watch her basically see Raoul and then kind of push him back. And then she goes down where she lights a candle in honor of her father.
Yep.
And exactly. At that point, the Phantom shows up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's interesting because when he first shows up, the mask that he has half the face shown, and he's very handsome.
Yeah.
And the other half not shown.
Correct.
And so the symbolism is you see part of the picture, not all.
Yep.
And so you see this incredible influence that the father has had on her, but that she can't see the part that's not beautiful.
Exactly.
Okay. And the reason this is so relevant for an untapped journey, Allie, is so often when we sit down with people and we go over these assessments of their gifts,
Yeah.
we begin to find that the family culture and values in some ways is incredibly supportive, but in other ways, maybe not so much.
Yeah.
So what we begin to see is barriers that get in the way of a person really beginning to realize their giftedness and
Yeah.
where they want to go over the next 3 years
Yeah.
with it. And so we love our families dearly and we want to please them. We've been taught from a young age to please our parents,
Yep.
mothers and fathers.
Yeah.
But sometimes we have to go down the path of facing rejection.
Yeah.
To basically become who we're supposed to become.
It's exactly
that authentic self.
Yeah.
You know, and again, I think what's so interesting is when you look at it through the eyes of father and daughter, you and I, you know, you're my daughter-in-law, so I don't get to get the insight between your father and Jay and you.
Yep.
But I sure see it, you know, as my 3 adult daughters are all married now.
Yeah.
And pursuing interests with their new loves. And there's a little bit of a natural tug of war.
Yeah.
That begins to happen.
For sure.
And so we see this same thing show up with Raoul, right?
Exactly. Yep.
So it's so interesting. So at one point in time, we see this whole issue of fear brought up, you know, and they use fear, you know, whether it's real or perceived, to basically create control.
Yeah.
And so when we listen to the music of the night, which is such a gorgeous song.
Such a good song.
It is, but it's basically saying stay in your slumber.
Yep.
Don't wake up. Don't become unconscious to competent. Unconscious to conscious about what's wrong.
Yeah.
You know, and the world really wants to control us back to those relationships.
Yeah.
And at the same time, you know, she says to Raoul, why have you brought me here?
Yeah.
And the reason that's so instructive to us is it's the first time, and we talk about this in the team development model of you going from the polite to the why are you here stage. And she's saying to Raoul, why have you brought me here? What is it that you want?
Exactly.
And at the same time, as that begins to happen, she has to navigate, what does she want? You know, and she's faced with, you know, this whole idea of, do I retreat from my life and my options, you know, to basically not have pain, or do I basically choose my own future? And we call this intentional living.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she's definitely pulled in 2 directions, her past and her desire for a better future with Raoul.
100%. Well, yeah. And they show 2 different 2 different values there too. I mean, Raoul is love and life and happiness and prosperity. And the phantom / father is this darkness, like respect for music, but not evolving.
Yeah, she's basically captured in the father's dream and the father's dream for her. And in some cases, parts of it can fit and actually bring the best in somebody out. And clearly her love of music is deeply embedded in her. And she's clearly talented to be in the top, we call it the top 10% in terms of gift zones. She's got that potential. And then importantly, we also know that she's gotten instruction. So this whole idea that you need mentorship and instruction, but it's back to what kind. And then we go into this beautiful song where Christine and Raoul look at each other and sing, all I ask of you. And again, it is so gorgeous, right?
It
And
is.
it's this, all I ask of you is in every waking moment that you love me
Mm-hmm.
for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And it's a very, very passionate, beautiful thing.
Yeah.
But we also see this request for unconditional love.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason this is so critically important is as we're navigating life purpose and energy,
Mm-hmm.
we often find that depending on how somebody grew up and whether the family love was unconditional or conditional influences the journey a lot.
Yeah.
And Allie, you know, this is very real for me. I
Yeah.
adore my mom. We lost her here in the last year,
Mm-hmm.
but it was a family where unconditional love it just wasn't baked in. It was more of a conditional love. You were
Yeah.
supposed to be a certain way. Her
Mm-hmm.
dad died when she was 13 and she deified her father and very much wanted us, I had two brothers, to
Yeah.
be in the role model of her father that she deified.
Yep.
And I was lucky in that many parts of who her father was, I loved to be, and I benefited from that. But it
Yeah.
was a more difficult journey for my brothers,
Yeah.
you know, and for them to get through conditional love and actually get to a point where they loved themselves unconditionally and knew that God loved them unconditionally took more time.
Yeah.
And so what we often find is as we're trying to break out and become the best version of ourselves that we can be,
Yeah.
it's so important that we find a spouse
Yeah.
or a support group that loves us unconditionally.
Yeah. That's so true. And it's so interesting how I didn't come at it necessarily from that perspective. I came at it with the 4-step change model where she's realized that the value that Raoul can add can bring her out of stage 1 and into stage 2. And
Yeah.
she knows I need unconditional love. I need your support. I need you to talk of summertime to me and take me away from the darkness. And Raoul's like, if that's what you need to get out of stage 1 and into stage 2, I am here for you and I will love you.
I will become what you need me to become.
Yeah.
So that you're the best version of you. And
Exactly.
Allie, we see this in the relationship building parts of Untapped. It's so critically important that people get clear on what is it that you want? What is it that I want? And if we bring this together in an environment of unconditional love, and there's such an important diversity message here today.
Yeah.
We're here in the United States right now, and you know, we're just seeing, I would say, lots of bad behaviors.
Yeah.
You know, where people are just not appreciating and loving each other in an unconditional, attentive way.
Yeah.
And what we know is how we form relationships are going to need to change. You know, if we're going to become the great society that we have potential to be 25 years from now, there's just lots of things that are going to have to be navigated through. And so the beauty of this song is it's such a big reminder of all I'm asking of you is that you listen to me, that you love me unconditionally, that you care about me, and that you consider me. And at the same time, she's going back and forth between, you know, where she was and what she wants to be. So we go back to now the song "Wishing You Were Somewhere Here Again."
That one, I did not know that song until the last week. Never paid attention to that song, ever. And now it's like, what? Allie, what have you been doing with your life? You know, it's just like, oh, it's the whole grieving process. I mean, it's the saddest, but it's probably one of the happiest tunes in the entire play. But it is the saddest song, but it's so beautiful. I'm like, ooh, should I play that? Like, should I request to have that played at my funeral now? Like, it's one of those where like, I don't know if you do that, but like, oh my God, it's so good. It's so beautiful. And yeah, I mean, I think that's where she's now officially started that grieving process, where I think when she was younger, she just had to keep moving and she was distracted. She obviously missed her father, but I think with her then being pushed into the ballet and being told, this is what you need to do. This is you. This is how you are. Now she's met Raoul. She's come into this new idea that she can have a better life and she needs to move on from her father, but she still loves him so much. The song is just stunning.
Well, and Allie, what I love about what you said is, first of all, the emotional element of this is so critical. When we really go through and try to discover this gift of passion where your unlimited energy is, so often it is an emotional journey because you have to take an inventory of your past and decide what continues to go forward and what do I have to say goodbye to.
Yeah.
And so what's so interesting about this is, in this particular case, there was a physical death of her father, but clearly, you know, other aspects of him are so in her life.
Yes.
You know, and so we all don't go through the physical death, but we do have to change these relationships that we've had in the past to get them right to go in the future. And so often we have to take an inventory of those relationships so that we can preserve what we love, but say goodbye to what doesn't fit anymore.
Yeah.
And often, you know, we don't like to admit it, but we all have behaviors when somebody says goodbye to us and we're not ready.
Yeah.
And frankly, we can be very, very difficult to deal with.
Yeah.
You know, and so, you know, then we're back into, and I think it's interesting, is we go into masquerade, right?
Yep.
And I might have the sequencing a little bit off.
Masquerade might be before, but that's okay.
I think you're right. But I think the important thing about masquerade is you're watching everybody go around with their face.
Yep.
You know, which is, what's the face I'm going to show to the outside world so that I look so good.
Exactly.
But eventually you begin to see that face doesn't fit.
Yep.
And this has a really, really interesting twist to it, because what we begin to find about the Phantom is that at one point in time, he was abused as a child. Okay. He was in a cage.
Yep.
He was in the equivalent of a carnival.
Yep.
And they masked him. And then when they took his mask off, which he describes as his first piece of uncaring clothing that he got from his mother who abandoned him. Okay. He takes the mask off and the crowd laughs at and makes fun of him. Okay. Which is hard to watch.
Yeah.
You know, but you start to see this dynamic that we all probably go through, which is, to fit with the world, we throw a mask on, you know, and we all want to be loved by the crowd, so to speak.
Yeah.
But we also see with the prima donna how dangerous it is to want the crowd to love you.
Yes.
You know, instead of going into this inside journey of becoming your authentic self and really creating the right relationships around you. And so that really is the first journal and struggle with this conditional love thing.
Yeah.
And so that's why it's so critical. So, so we then get into this real climax where in the past it's been Raoul dealing with the Phantom, you know, even to the point where the Phantom draws blood on Raoul, and you would argue, well, wait a minute, that's a ghost. You know, did Christine really take a piece out of Raoul as she tried to encourage her to change, which so often we do. We'll take it out on and blame people. We go into victim blamer and blame the people around us. But eventually you have to move beyond that. And so there's a song that's just absolutely gorgeous called Point of No Return. And so this is where we see her, instead of Raoul fighting for her and what she wants, she chooses that.
100%.
And so this is critically important too, because what we find is somebody needs to value their own gifts and eventually choose to fight for them and not play victim blamer or ask other people to step in and protect them. And so this is ultimately where she says, no, I love you, Dad. I love what you've given me, but we're at the point of no return. I've taken an inventory of the good things that you've given me, and I will carry those forward, but the rest I will let go.
It's beautiful. Yeah.
And again, just to go back through it, there's a book called Necessary Endings, a book called Boundaries by Cloud, you know, Henry Cloud, which are just beautiful in terms of helping people to get through this.
Yeah.
You know, and then finally we get to this point where, you know, she has the battle royale with the Phantom, and the Phantom accepts it. Right?
Yep.
She won't take his wedding ring at the end. Keeps trying to give it to her. She won't take it.
Yep.
Okay. But he loves her so dearly, and he's in this pain, and she knows that, but she knows that's necessary pain for the Phantom.
Yep.
She then goes to Raoul, and they live their life together, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And then we come to the end of the movie where we believe it's Raoul, right?
Yes. Yeah. They have it made up pretty well. When I first saw the movie, like in 2017 or 15 or whenever it came out, I was like, who? You can't always tell that it's exactly him. And I don't know if that's on purpose, but I 100% believe it's Raoul.
But there's a mystery to it. You can't tell really that the father is the Phantom. So there's a twist there, right?
Yeah.
And then you have this twist with Raoul. But what's so fascinating is at the end, you know, Raoul's taking possession of the monkey.
Yep.
You know, he's in a limousine. The lady who knows him, you know, who we think also was very close to his wife, nods. Yeah. Yeah, she was. That's
there was
right.
a whole Facebook Live on her we could do.
Oh, for sure. Well, let alone, you know, we'll have to come back and revisit the understudy too.
Yeah.
But at the end, it's so interesting. Raoul, you know, who we think is aged at this point, takes the monkey to the gravestone.
Yep.
And it's her grave.
Of Christine.
It's her grave. And so what's so fascinating about it is he arrives there to deliver the monkey, and there's a single rose in a black ribbon with a ring around it, which was the symbol of her father.
The Phantom.
Or her father.
Her father.
Yeah, but it's so incredibly important because the message is both these men love her so dearly. Both of them at this point, it's an unconditional love and acceptance of who she is.
Yeah.
And really, when you get down to it, you know, in this untapped journey, it's so much about honoring what are the gifts that we have and pursuing that, but also entering into relationships that honor and add value, you know, us to them and them to us. And so that's why this is so freaking beautiful. But then just to go to the understudy next, the understudy has idolized Christine the whole time.
Okay.
And if you watch, she wants to have the relationship with the Phantom next.
Yep.
And so the point that they're trying to make is this will occur again and again and again as people navigate through this. And so the beauty for you and I is, and I feel like we're so blessed to be in this role, is we get to walk people through this journey.
Yep.
And when we watch people go through it, the transformation that occurs and the quality of life that shows up for them, and it takes time.
Yeah, it does.
You know, because they have to sort through things that are deep, you know, including, you know, why this mom, why this dad, why this family, why this culture, why these values, and what am I supposed to do to add value back, you know, for my husband or wife, my best friends, my kids. And the beauty of it is it works us all the way through there. So we'll go ahead and put the psychoanalyst looks at the Phantom of the Opera. We'll post that in the notes. And if you could take 2 or 3 of the songs that are just so beautiful from YouTube and connect those would be great. But again, I can't recommend this movie more highly. And I would ask that you look at the notes before you go into it. But if you're even close, you know, to going through some sort of transformational event in your life, which is what we think Untapped's about.
Exactly.
You know, having a true belief that your life can be better with the people who really love you unconditionally.
Yeah.
You know, that's what we're really trying to do. So, Allie, what did I miss? You know?
I think you nailed it.
Thank you.
Yeah. This one was fun. And I just loved that it was different, and it also like introduced a new way to watch it for me. I mean, I feel like I learned a lot from this with your new perspective of it, and this the psychoanalyst also interpretation. It was just fascinating to watch it without doing that, and then seeing how different the movie was now that I had read that. And I was just like, also, like, I got to watch Phantom of the Opera for work this week. Like, how fun is that? Gosh.
You know, Allie,
not real life.
for me, I've had this incredible blessing of, and you know, my mom was a really strong lady. And Susie's an incredibly strong and capable lady. That's my wife. And I have the blessing of 3 daughters. And then more recently, and look at me for a second, kid.
Sorry.
You're a true blessing in my life.
Oh, thank you.
And I have so much fun working on this with you. And Phantom was a real blessing. So just thank you.
Yeah.
And all I'm going to say is to all the people listening to us today is look at those beautiful, strong people in your life and love them, but also understand the importance of unconditional love on your part and theirs for each of us to figure out where we have to go to live an untapped life. Okay. So with that said, we'll close it out.
Perfect. You have a good weekend, John.
Thanks, Allie. Good seeing you again. Bye-bye.